is going to be my first YouTube video tutorial kind of thing. Um, because of the intro you just heard, which is my song "Whispering Willow" from an upcoming album or whatever. You can find it on Spotify, on YouTube. Um, it's going to be there. I'll put a link in the description. But because of this intro, I got asked, how did you record the acoustic guitars? Because they are sounding crisp and clear and beautiful and just natural. And so because of that, I wanna make this video. It's a tutorial, and I think it's gonna be in 3 parts. I don't know right now. But the first part is going to be about setup and hardware. It doesn't require expensive hardware. I have quite some stuff here, but frankly, most of the stuff I use is very cheap. You're going to be seeing that in this part 1. The second part is about recording, and the third part is going to be about mixing and putting everything together and making it work. So this is what whoops. This is what I call my studio, which is basically an attic, as you can see. I think I have an advantage with the slanted roof because I don't have very much interference with reflections and stuff. I hear people about. I do have some padding, as you may have seen, above the keyboard. This is where I do the singing parts, and it keeps the reflections away. But overall, I don't have very many problems with interference. I know there is some bass interference, but I know what it is, and I can just work around it, so I don't use Sonar Works or whatever. Very basic, this setup. Stop it here. I have everything running into this Samson mix pad. That is because I don't want to. I'm a solo artist, but I get tired of plugging and unplugging everything all the time. I do my electric guitar recording through a Boss GT10 or through a Boss Katana, and they're plugged in permanently. I numbered my my XLRs, number 1, 2, and 3. They're the big microphone you saw, the Behringer C1. I'm tapping on right now. That's hooked up permanently. That's also being used for Zoom calls and whatever. But most of my gear is plugged in permanently, or it is plugged into one of the cords 1, 2, and 3. Again, I can work very quickly, and speed is for me of the essence because I'm limited in the time I can spend on making music, so I want to work very fast. But also, I learned that when I work faster, I don't take the time to contemplate everything in the slightest detail. I just want to work fast, get it going, and get on with it. And it takes some practice to do that. And you can see my recording process for acoustic guitars is just like that. Very quick, very easy. I know what I'm doing. I'm not really deviating from that path. Before I had this mixer, I did everything just with my sound card. And my sound card is this Behringer Euphoria UMC202 HD. Well, there's probably a lot more to say about it. 192, 48, etc. with phantom power and everything. But mainly I just use it in the simplest way possible. I run it like you see at line level. The mixer, of course, has a line level out. And then I have the pad switches minus 20 dB engaged all the time, and the Midas preamps, which are pretty good, actually set to 0 because I use the preamps of the mix pad. In this way, I don't have to adjust anything ever on my sound card. It just works. If I do monitoring directly from the sound card. So pretty basic setup. Everything I do, you could do from the or without a mixer, but I just like having the advantage of having a mixer. By far, my favorite mic for recording acoustic guitars is the Superlux Hi 10. It's a very small microphone. It's a snare mic originally. Comes in a very complete package with a pop filter and a microphone clip. when I compare it to my Behringer SM58 clone, here you can see how small it is. Well, the nicest thing about this microphone, and here I have the specs on the Thomann website. It's a cardioid pattern, especially for hi-hat and acoustic guitar. Although the box says it's a snare drum mic. Well, good range. 200 ohms, can handle high sound pressure levels, and very good, and phantom powered, as you see. I don't know why we have the pop filter, but I use it all the time to avoid bumping into it while recording, so it minimizes bumping sounds. I try to sing into it. For voice, it's an okay microphone. It makes good recordings, but it's very sensitive to pops. It only costs like 33 euros, so this really is a bargain. So this is my my Mayson ECM-10 guitar and my golden tone kind of shabby second-hand guitar. The Mayson has a, and I'll go back a little bit. The Mayson has a cedar top, and it's a what they call a Marquise model. I think it's like an O model. It's very mid-rangey, lots of punch, and that's why I mainly use it for finger picking, fingerstyle guitar, because it really cuts through in the mix, which you will hear. It's got quite a good definition between the different and separate strings. Which is completely the opposite on the Dreadnought, the Golden Tone, which is a guitar I bought second-hand for 10 euros maybe. And very playable guitar, maybe even the best playable in my collection. But its main advantage over the other one is for strumming. This is a great guitar. I often use strumming guitar parts as like kind of support for electric guitar parts. Here's the World brand Golden Tone. No idea where it comes from. Or I use lots of acoustic guitar strumming as a support for electric guitar parts, and usually you can hardly hear it, but it really fills up the mix. And this guitar lacks low end, and it doesn't have that definition to it which the other one has. So this is great because the strings kind of sound like a block when you strum it, where the Mayson guitar keeps sounding like you're strumming on a guitar, and you can hear the definition between the different strings. Another advantage of this guitar in the mix, not for solo performances, is that it lacks low end. There's almost no bass in it, and because I usually have to EQ out the bass or the boominess of an acoustic guitar, I prefer this one over all my others when I'm playing strumming parts for songs. So enjoy this square headstock, the famous Golden Tone brand, and my beautiful Mayson guitar with the cedar top. So the main thing with recording guitar is mic placement, and what I like to do, I know there is some different approaches to this. One of them is keeping the microphone aimed at the 12th to 14th fret, so over here on the fretboard. I'm not particularly enthusiastic about that, because I keep bumping into the microphone all the time, and I have trouble keeping my guitar in the right spot. So what I do, and this is a tip I got from one of the instructional videos of Warren Ward from Produce Like a Pro, that's to aim it at a 45-degree angle to the rim of the guitar. For finger picking, that is, I found out. For strumming, and I'll demonstrate that, I like to aim it over here, so not even to the guitar itself, but beside the soundboard. So why at a 45-degree angle? This microphone has a cardioid pattern, so it will pick up more or less what's in front of it and less of the sides. And the more you aim it to the sound hole itself, the more bass the mic will pick up. And that's exactly the reason why for strumming I like to position myself more like it's coming over here, so it's below the neck, over somewhere over here, pointing there, and then you get rid of all the low end of the guitar and you keep the percussive sound you really like for strumming parts. But it's kind of looking what's going into the track, but this is exactly how I do it. So I'm gonna record two parts now. First a finger picking part and then a strumming part, and we will process both parts later on in the next part of this video. And now a strumming part. So as for the mixing of the song, the intro of Whispering Willow, the origin of the guitar part we just recorded is this one, and I'm gonna play it and I'm gonna solo the track a bit so you can hear how things work in the mix. This is the original mix. So this is where the strings come in. It sounds like this solo. So enough of that. I have the part we just recorded over here in a separate file. This is the Mayson, the pickup or the picking and the fingerstyle guitar. So you hear it's more or less the same part, but it's kind of dull and not vibrant and lively enough, and that's what we're gonna do here. Now usually what I do, I'm gonna make a time selection here so we can put everything on repeat. There we go. Usually what I do plugin wise is I happen to have the IK multimedia T-Rex 5 package, so I do mix a lot with those plugins. But what I did, because not everybody has those, I put together kind of a package in which you can do this yourself with all free plugins, and I'm gonna link them in the description so you can find them. And basically most things you can do with any free plugin. Maybe add a little saturation, maybe there's a little coloring to the sound. I use IK Multimedia's 1176 compressor somewhere, and I tried Analog Obsession's free one. I didn't like that, so I ended up with VladG's Molot, which has some characteristics of the 1176. Sounds a bit the same, but it's not completely the same. So there's some differences, but if you know what you're doing and if you experiment a lot, you can do this well with almost any package. Okay, so this is the part we have here. I'm gonna play it over and over and just leave it on repeat. And I will put on my headphones to avoid bleeding. Turn off my monitor effects because my monitor effects, I don't have sonar works, but they my left speaker is closer to me than my right speaker, so there's some balancing going on there. So what I am hearing here, and these are not perfect headphones, so I'm going to switch back and forth between my monitor speakers and my headphone now and then. First thing I do is EQ everything, and usually I like to use channel strips. So what I found, the one I came up with for this instance is Analog Obsessions N492ME. And what I like to do is add some, no, first of all, we're gonna cut some lows, and we're gonna cut basically everything below 300 Hertz. Then we're gonna add some mids, and I really need my speakers here, so I'm gonna do this without my headphones, sorry. Oh, so what I did so far was cut the low mids, cut the lows, and I raised the low mids around the 1000 Hertz. It's really it's not really low mids anymore, but somewhere there is where punch starts and where the lows end. I cut everything below 400 Hertz. I will adjust this in a bit. And then the next part is that we're gonna raise the high mids and add some air. So here we go. This this equalizer, it is a parametric equalizer. For those who don't know how it works, you select your frequency. It has a fixed band, so the bandwidth is fixed, and you can raise or lower that. That's how parametric equalizers work. Well, this does the job in this instance. Different parametric equalizers, sometimes they have a Q, so you can regulate the bandwidth. Sometimes they don't. Sometimes the bandwidths are a little bit different. I could also do this with a graphic equalizer, the one with the sliders for each fixed bandwidth. This one works for this instance. So this is what it is now. Next thing I'm going to do is raise the high mids, so as to add some punch and then add some air, and we can adjust this further on in the process, but for now this is it. This is starting to sound okay. depending on where we want to go in the mix and how much bass is there, you really have to go back to the original mix and to the EQ settings when you put it in the mix, and maybe adjust the lows here and there. Normally in a mix with a bass guitar, maybe synths, I would lower the lows even more, because there's going to be a huge buildup of lows, of low end, and maybe I would slightly rise the highs. I can do that here, a bit more air, but using delays that can become kind of a problem. So I always, at the end of this process, and when I put everything in the mix, I go back to the EQ settings just to fine-tune everything. Okay, I'm gonna stop the music for a bit now. The next thing we want to do is we want to tame the transients, and especially the high transients, and just make it flow a little bit more. This is a pretty punchy guitar. It has a lot of punch, so you want to tame this and make it level out a bit more. I have a pretty decent guitar technique, so my playing is kind of even, so I don't have to adjust too much, fortunately. But if you don't have even a fingerstyle playing, sometimes you have to tame those, but just a little bit. And it's, in my opinion, it's better to use multiple compressors from this than just one. The first one we're gonna add is an LA2A compressor. Well, an old. Usually I use the Acon multimedia one, but this time we're gonna use the Analog Obsession one. So how does this work? I'm gonna put it in limit mode, just because I want to tame the transients, but just a little bit. It's a very simple, well, this is quite an elaborate one, but usually you only have two knobs, gain and peak reduction as rotary controls, limit and compress, and of course the power on. This one has some sidechain options, etc. And the mix control, well, obviously in Reaper you don't need a mix control for parallel compression, because you have parallel compression over here. But we're gonna use this one. So the first thing to do on an LA2A is to set the peak reduction, and that will give you well, an impression of just reducing the peaks. And what I said, I really want to tame the peaks just a bit, and then we're gonna adjust the gain on the thing, just to make sure that the gain out is the same as the gain in. Here you can see the meter starting moving. So as it is moving, you see it's grabbing some of those peaks. You see some of those peaks are really higher than the other ones. And I always want to make sure that the highest peaks will not get more than like 3 dB gain reduction. You see the concluding pick is the loudest. And just give it a listen. Maybe we can even put it a bit more back. I like to not over compress things. Oh, I forgot to put the limit on, because we want to limit this. Yeah, that's about 3 dB, so that will be okay. So now just level match the thing. this sounds good to me. Maybe a little bit more peak reduction. Yeah, I think that's how we're gonna leave this for now. Now we're going to add the Molot, which is also a free, great compressor made by VladG, Vladislav Goncharov, and he's the guy who also made TDR Nova, Limited Number 6, etc., etc. This is a great compressor. I used it yesterday for the first time. Well, let's see what it does. So here we go. I have to find out, because what I said, this is like the second time I'm using it. So what kind of controls we do have here? I have an alpha sigma control. I like the sigma. It's a bit of coloration, comparable to the 1176 compressor. Here we go. Repeat over and over again, and we're gonna see if we can. So there's not much going on. What I want with an 1176 style is a very slow, very fast attack. So this is 1 a millisecond. Let's leave it there. And kind of a fast release as well. Well, 50 milliseconds is the least here. It works for this part. I tested it yesterday. Usually on an 1176 you can go to 7 or even less. And maybe a 4:1 ratio. Let's play a little bit around with that. Not too much of a hard knee. This is how hard the compressor kicks in. And now we're gonna play with the threshold. So you can see it grabs the transients and evens out everything even more. There's some crackling there. Or it's maybe the repeat of the. So check makeup gain again. Turn it down a little bit. And here's the alpha sigma coloration. To me this sounds a bit cleaner, and this doesn't. I think it's compressing too hard now. You can feel it pumping a bit. So we're gonna put the threshold a little bit back and put the ratio a bit back. Now there's one thing about this compressor I really like. I don't really need it in this instance, but there's a filter. This is a high pass filter. So if you don't want your bass tones to drive the compressor and you really want to pick out the high transients, you can turn this on. We can do that. And now it's just picking out those high transients. You can hear the difference. Now it's being driven partly by the low frequencies, and now it's just the high frequencies. And the low frequencies just pass on. I think we're gonna leave it at this. So now we have EQ'd, we have put two compressors in, and if you really think you should do another round of compression because you need it to be more flat and less breathy, which could happen, is just add another compressor after it, but also very gently, never more than like 3 dBs of compression. So here we go. The next one is going to be a delay to create space in the track, and usually I use, and I'm going to show you, I will use just because it's very quick, a very quick process, is CLA Epic. So this is CLA Epic for who has never seen this. CLA Epic is well, I would load like a just a preset and then adjust to taste. So here we go. What do we have here? We have a slap delay, instant greatness, and 3 reverbs. So there's this one, the slap delay. There would be a room reverb, a whole reverb, and a space reverb. Well, the space reverb you could take off, and it would still sound great. But I don't want to do this here. The main advantage of this compressor, the main advantage of this compressor is that you really can equalizer, reverb, is it has built-in routing capabilities, high-pass filters, low-pass filters. So you could really use it everywhere where you want. I see here they're pretty dark colored sound-wise. That Chris Lloyd LG did not use any filters on this preset. This is a CLA preset. But with the delay we are going to use, which is a standard standard Reaper plugin, the time delayer, the channel time delayer. It adds a lot of highs. So what I'm gonna do is set up a parallel track where we are going to do the delay stuff, so we can add a in a equalizer. By the way, I explained this low filter to you. What you could do if you have a compressor you really like, but you don't want to be driven by, the low end, is add a equalizer in front of it. So you cut out with a high pass filter and cut out the lows, and then add the same equalizer after the compressor, and then add in the lows again. So they don't go into the compressor, but they come back uncompressed afterwards. So just a small tip. So now we're going to set up a second track. This one's going to be routed over there. So now we have this going on. That's going to be it. And here we are going to add channel time delayer, this one. So this plugin is mainly a delay on the left and on the right side, and we just want a small bit of slap delay, and I like to have them a little bit different so you get a more spacious sound. So without, with, and you can instantly hear that it adds a lot of highs in there. So what we're gonna do now is add ReaEQ. a low pass filter over here. Should have been 4. We're just gonna mess this thing up. And a high pass filter over there. So this is the delay channel. If we turn this off. So far we went from this original signal to this, and now we added space. So the next one is going to be a reverb, and I really like, of all the free plugins, I like OrilRiver. This is going to be our first reverb. Scroll through the presets. Reflections, a bit of pre-delay. As not to interfere with the and then we will add another reverb after that, another one of my favorites, the Acon Digital Solo, which is probably the simplest reverb around, and I really like it for roomy kind of stuff. Too much. This is where we came from. Pretty dull sound. But then with the effects, with the compressors on it, we went to this. And now with the spatial effects, we went here. So the next part is going to be strumming, what I call supportive strumming guitars. It's guitars, I use this a lot when I really want a massive sound, and there's electric guitars and orchestras and everything going on. And in Whispering Willow, this is in the middle section. There's this huge buildup of sound, and I really want to fill the whole mix, but just not want to hear everything. So I use this support from guitars, acoustic guitars. And in this instance, there's like 4 acoustic guitars panned from outside, EQ'd more to the top end, going more to the center when where they're panned more, or EQ'd more to the mid range. I'm going to show how to do this, but only for one guitar because it's just different EQ settings and everything. Gonna demonstrate the part I'm talking about, and then I'm gonna solo the track first. So here's the huge part, huge wall of sound kind of thing. So maybe you didn't hear it, but there's kind of like a G going on in the background, and I'm going to play that same section for you, then solo the acoustic guitars. And here you feel the other guitar coming in more punchy, more mid-rangey. You can also make this difference by EQing guitars differently. So the part we recorded for, oh sorry, put this window away. That's just from prepping the track. I made a section again of the strumming section we did on the Golden Tone guitar before. I copied all the effects I had for the fingerstyle part again, and we're just gonna adjust all the settings. So here we go. Looping it again. Turn on the effects. But everything's off. So first we're gonna cut out the low end. I really don't want any low end there. Basically, I'm trying to do a gradual low cut here. And then between 2 and 4, the K hertz is where the punch lives. So I really want to reduce that a bit as well. So I get that velvety, percussive sound. And maybe raise a little bit of air. But there's some sound of the strumming. It's kind of high click. Could become problematic with the compressors on, but we'll see. Compressor. I want the compressor to be really doing more than the last time we used it. So this is a clean signal, power on limited, and then have peak reduction really working at all times, so it really flattens out the dynamics. And as you can hear, limiters tend to add some highs in there. That's what I was talking about. So I'm maybe gonna cut back a bit of the highs in the equalizer. I'm happy with this. Now we're going to the Molot. This is working way too hard. I don't know how to reset it, so I'm gonna just remove it and add it again. The Acon multimedia stuff has a reset button, not everything has this. It's very handy. So we're going to be compressing a bit more here. Maybe even 7:1. A slower release, so it doesn't just pick the transients, but picks everything for as far as they're still here. Slow attack time. Also the sigma again. We can leave the filter off this time because there is no lows. And now we're gonna really have this work a bit. You see there's not much dynamics going on anymore, but we're just taming whatever is left there. Pretty hard knee. That means that with this compression rate it's also limiting. Almost limiting. There's no gradual slope of the ratio going in. Yeah, happy with this. We could put it in limiting mode. It's like this. You can do this in different ways. So this is where we came from. Adding compression with the parallel reverb on it. You can use this anywhere in your mix. By the way, I recorded in stereo this time. That's because I initially had the idea of putting one guitar on the left and the other one on the right. It doesn't really matter. This is a mono signal. But since we are adding stereo effects, this is okay. Usually when I have this done, what I will do is just click right and render to stereo. Work from that, and I will just automate tracks including everything that's on it. So if I raise the level, I also raise the reverbs, etc. So this was how I record my guitars. I think I hope it's of use to you. I will put links in the description to everything. Thanks for your time, and I really hope well, that you enjoyed it and that you can do something with it. if you have some useful tips or stuff, just put it in the comments. I'm not really a YouTuber. It's because some people requested I did this video that I did it. So feel free to comment. I know there's other approaches. That's okay. This is how I do it. And well, thanks for your attention. See you. Bye bye.